day.
Yeah, it's been really good. We're moving forward with a lot of projects all at once, so
Yeah,
it's exciting to see it come together.
ain't that the truth? It's pretty crazy how, yeah, this is like, I almost feel like this year for a lot of us has just been try to get a decade's worth of work like all into one thing, you know? So,
That is for sure. Yeah, last
yeah,
year was a little bit like that for us as well. I was kind of
yeah,
carrying most of the weight on my shoulders, but I've expanded the team a lot, so that's a fantastic thing to have a
yeah,
great team now.
of course. But yeah, I mean, this is what changing the world's like, one thing at a time. So,
That's right.
let me just see who all is watching right now. There's a bunch of people on are you familiar with Odysee, the library
Hmm.
based thing? Yeah, there's a
Hmm.
bunch of people watching on that one.
Cool.
That the way it works, their live stream thing works is I just have one link that basically, so I did a podcast immediately prior to this, and so there's like a bunch of people I guess still like with the window open waiting for it to kick over to this one. But the YouTube one is like a
Oh,
separate
cool.
link, which we have one person on YouTube now, which is great. But I tend to prefer that they jump on the blockchain one anyway. Oh, one time's already there. Hey, dude. All right. Well, this is good enough. Why don't we just roll the little intro graphic right here, and then we'll just get right into things. So, hey everyone, happy Friday, and happy whatever. It depends if you're just watching the last podcast and just went into this one. If you weren't, if you're just here for the dashy goodness, well, that's what we have here. I'm joined by the one and only illustrious Marshall Greenwald. How's it going, man?
Awesome. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, no problem. And we I interviewed Marshall a few weeks ago, just generally, and since then, Dash Direct has been like 50% of all the Dash related chatter across like the whole network, whether it's from like angry Europeans who don't just want to be able to use it, or whether it's just like, oh, this is cool, or whether it's like troubleshooting on the app, or just it's just been a big subject thing. So yeah, I figured have you on to talk a little bit more. So as always, feel free to jump into any live chats and ask stuff. Although, because I'm a cruel bastard and a capitalist, I am paywalling Marshall today. So if you want to ask any specific questions that are outside of the ones that were already gathered ahead of time, then you're going to want to go to cointr.ee/the desert links. You can leave a little dash donation, and then it pops up on the screen with a message. And yeah, I'll read that one off. And it is working. It wasn't working last week. Or if you're on Odysee, there's a little hyper chat function. You can go leave some credits in with that, and then there you go. But for everyone else, for all the stingy people, I have no mercy for you. So yeah, let's just jump right on into this stuff. So can't remember what was the first one, but here we go. So this is one that I kind of came from me, honestly. Most of these ones are from other people, but this one is just for me, which I'm wondering, how the hell did you ever get regular people to use CrayPay as opposed to Dash Direct? Because with crypto you can't spend it really, and oh well, what if you can spend it but you save money and it's non-custodial and no KY, like all these like benefits, and it's like, okay, that's enough to get people to use it, especially if crypto users have no option. But like you can swipe your credit card, tap and pay, whatever the hell else, and it's like, well, let's download this special app, sign in, do a little like verification thing or what. Again, I'm assuming I don't use fiat, but then let's put in my like card information into this thing, and then when I go up to pay, I go through this, open this special app, and type in this little, and do this little. How do you get people to go through all that extra stuff just to get just I mean, I'm assuming a small discount?
Yeah. So I think it would be nearly impossible to convince you, Joel, to pay with CrayPay because you don't have
Yeah,
credit cards or bank accounts.
I'd
So
have to
definitely not
buy
going to
one
try
from
to
you
convince you.
to use. It's just it wouldn't work out.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to try to convince you, but we do have, you know, about 80,000 users on our fiat platform.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're using it because it's not competing with Dash Direct, right? So yeah, if you had to choose between those two and you already have assets sitting in both ways. DashDirect is a clear winner. I myself, since launching it, used CrayPay, and now I use DashDirect, right? So it's a clear winner. But it doesn't really compete with anything else in the market directly, at least nothing that's like really well utilized by consumers today. So if you were deciding between CrayPay and paying with your credit card, right? We increase the privacy because we give you a one-time use code. We tokenize your card. We don't have your card information. And you're getting a stackable savings on top of your credit card rewards. So if you do pay with your rewards card that gives you 1 or 2% back, you're still going to get our average, by the way, it's still 3 to 4% average savings on top of that. So while it's not as much savings as we can offer on DashDirect, there is a significant difference between that and not using it. So the majority of our users have said, it's a no-brainer, right, for them. If they're going to go into one of these businesses and use their credit card or debit card, they might as well use a simple way to get additional savings instantly. But it was kind of the jumping off for finding more efficient payment methods, right? Because it was expensive, or is expensive, for us to take your credit card, right? And so we have two really significant cost centers. The first is the discount that we give the user, and the second highest, sorry, there's a fly flying around here. I live out in the sticks, and somebody had the door open. And the second is the cost that we pay for accepting the credit card. So by eliminating that in the DashDirect app, we obviously can give a higher incentive and increased privacy, increased security. But we are providing those elements, savings, security, and privacy, to the consumers in our fiat apps as well.
Yeah. It's so, like, that part of it, where I'm a crazy penny pincher, right? I mean, but more importantly, I've clearly gone out of my way to do things because I wanted to, by like using crypto, being unbanked, especially in days before now. Like 4 years ago, it was kind of rough, right? It was 3 years ago, and I was like in the middle of doing this. It was rough. So I can imagine, but for the most part, if I try to convince his friend, oh, you want to save like a little bit on all your purchases, not just the setup process, but just the extra. I mean, CrayPay DashDirect at least has a pretty seamless payment process, relatively speaking, but there's still like the bumps of like, oh, did the gift code work this way or whatever? Yeah. And just, you can save a couple percent if you do it this way instead. Is just like, I mean, basically what I'm getting at with this is, it seems like if you can get people to do that and just to save a little extra money, if you can get them to have crypto to begin with, specifically Dash, of course, it would be a no-brainer to get people addicted to this app because of the, higher savings, and then not having to go through all the, KYC and the other stuff like that. So that was kind of like where that was coming from.
No, you're right. I mean, one of the things that I want to tackle is simple on-ramping for somebody who's not currently a crypto holder, somebody who doesn't have an exchange account already, somebody who's just like, hey, let me kind of check this out. I think we've reached the majority of the people who are going to be crypto enthusiasts because of things like privacy and security and decentralization. I think, at least in the US, the majority of people have heard of these things and heard of Bitcoin and heard of crypto. I think the use case of spending crypto is something that hasn't really been introduced to the market very thoroughly yet, right? Obviously, we know that that's very difficult to do. And so as you introduce it, you have to make it really simple. You go, hey, look, there's another reason to go think about crypto and another way to go experience it firsthand. And maybe that's a backdoor to getting people to care more about their financial privacy, and their getting rid of the ability for private organizations or the government to censor their financial activities. Maybe they didn't care about it, but maybe they will eventually. But we have to give them a really simple way to get in. And frankly, I think that's an opportunity that hasn't really been efficiently addressed in the market, or sufficiently addressed in the marketplace today, right? Even for myself, I have several exchanges and other apps where I just dropped out of the KYC process and gave up,
Yeah.
And that's for somebody who really had reasons to use it, and really had, a vested interest in making it work. I still felt frustrated. I won't mention the name, but there was one exchange that when going through the KYB, which is, as you know, the Know Your
Yeah.
Business, to get CrayPay set up as a partner. First of all, several rejected us. They thought that we needed some other licenses that our council has said and that FinCEN has said we don't need.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't, want to take us at that, so we just said okay, whatever. But there was one in particular where I had to Google some of the words that they were using on their application form to figure out what they were even asking me for. If you need a dictionary to fill out a form on a website, people are going to drop out of that process, right?
Yeah.
It's just not a user-friendly experience when you don't even know what it's asking for. I'm sorry, this fly is driving me nuts.
Fine.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'll stop there on my little soapbox about the
must
KYC.
be a Federal Reserve sent envoy or something. But especially like when we're talking about marketing and advertising, things like that, it's like, don't sell people on a million features. Sell them on the one thing that's more important than anything. But it's kind of funny on the user experience side of things. It's almost the opposite, because if every little thing matters, every little element, and there's like a tipping point of, do I use this or not? And mostly with, you have to simplify the user experience to the point where they'll do it. And if it's just like I'd like to, I'm sure people have run this kind of a thing of like, how many CAPTCHAs do you have to solve before you just give up on it entirely, right? It's like, what if you had to solve like 5 CAPTCHAs in a row to get your car started? You just wouldn't go anywhere. Like 4 you might, but then I'd love to just mess with people and just add CAPTCHAs until like they just gave up on all their evening plans or their life plans or even having a job or whatever. Just gave up on everything. So that's kind of where that one comes from.
Yeah, and you're right though. Like, there is a certain amount of friction that we kind of accept as a trade-off for the value, right? But I think if you're trying to get somebody into crypto and they don't yet know what the value is, they don't really clearly understand the value proposition, throwing that friction right up front and saying, you got to climb this mountain. You have no idea what's on the other side or whether you want to get there, but go climb the mountain and then you can see over and see. Now, what I would say is go show them that this is a beautiful view. It's really rewarding. Maybe it takes you somewhere that you want to go long-term and visit. Like now people are going, okay, maybe I can think about climbing the mountain. But I also think there's another strategy, which is like, don't tell them to climb the mountain unless they already are trying to go to the other side. Tell them, climb up a quarter mile and take a look at the view here. Right? Like show them as they move along, show them like there's a little bit of friction with some reward, and friction and reward, as opposed to friction and I have no idea whether I even want to go any further. So yeah, if you said you got to do 5 CAPTCHAs, drive your car, and I was trying to get one of my kids to the emergency room, you better believe I do 5 CAPTCHAs. Yeah. But if it's like, I want to go grab some lunch and my alternative is to jump on DoorDash, I won't even think about getting in the car, right? Even without the CAPTCHAs, I would rather use DoorDash personally.
Yeah, it's just one of those things about like, like people deal with this a lot up here in New Hampshire, where right now it's like a balmy 70 something, but in a few months it's going to start getting, a little cold. And then people here, like for me, I just don't care. I'm just throwing a coat and I go. But where you say like, oh man, it's just so cold. It's just, those extra 5 degrees just made it like, it's just too cold. But I'm sure the community is plenty impatient for a lot of these things because we got this one a little bit more specifically on everyone just says with Dash, of course, when Evo, like when is Evolution / platform up? That's like the meme of the last like half decade basically. But the DashDirect version of it is when there's two ones, right? But first off, it was when merchant, when this merchant. So the ones that got specifically asked were, Walmart, Target, and Amazon. Of course, Trader Joe's, I threw that in there for myself because I loved that, but I've never seen Trader Joe's gift cards online anywhere, so I assume they got some. It's just unreachable. But so Walmart and Target and Amazon. Any idea on that if they're going to be added ever?
They in the plural, meaning all inclusive. I would say I don't have an answer on that yet. there is one of those brands that is coming very soon.
Mm.
So yeah, stay tuned into the official channels from Dash, whether you're on Discord or Twitter. Yeah, we have a very exciting announcement coming up for one of those brands to be launched.
Mm.
We have, I think, 20, I have to count again because we've added a couple more this week, but 20 something brands ready to go in the near term. And we're going to roll them out, not just like one every week or something. We'll roll out the big one that I'm alluding to kind of independently. There are some gas and grocery merchants coming on board. And so those will get rolled out separately. Some of the kind of smaller brands or regional brands will kind of roll out multiple at a time.
Okay.
But there's another approach to think about, and you mentioned there's the when merchant and then there's the when my country question.
Which that's a few
I
questions
love
down, but that's just very simply, oh, when's the next country? Which is the next country? Is it Canada? Is it Europe? Basically, the Canadians, the Europeans are getting jealous of all this sweet, sweet dashy action we're getting here. That's all.
Yeah, I'd love to address both of those at the same time because I think the answer is kind of the same. We'll continue working on direct merchant relationships, both in the U.S. and outside. We do have access to some merchants here that are on your list, and we do have access to some merchants that are very exciting, very well-known, prolific merchants in other regions. But with this proposal being passed and funded, we are accelerating the answer to both of those with a solution through MasterCard. Now, it's not going to be the same solution that we have with the DashDirect gift card merchants, right? We don't get enough margin from the merchant to pass on a savings like we do on the gift card platform. But with the MasterCard program, we can become universal within the US, any MasterCard merchant, as well as potentially globally. There's some UX questions that we have to address still for the global side.
I'm sure it's exchange rate and stuff.
Yeah, exchange rate. Think about this. We do everything in a pre-funded format. So we know that the Dash is coming. It's not necessarily settled yet, but we know it's coming before we put funds on the card. And so you have to know how much Dash, we have to know how much Dash to request from you for that transaction. But if a merchant has a different exchange rate than what we're using, how would we know how much to ask for? So there are some thoughts on this already.
Okay. So because you'd buy a prepaid USD denominated card, that then they would do it. That makes sense. Rather than you have like a Euro account or whatever to do.
Yeah, and so let's assume that there's kind of two ways then to solve this. One is to get creative around the economic side and how we handle the exchange, and then the other is to partner with multiple vendors to get native currency support in each region. I don't know that anyone has like every currency globally in their platform, but if we can get major regions covered in major currencies, I think that would be a big win. So we're looking at this as, kind of having multiple challenges on, like I said, the global side, the currency side, the cost side. And then there's another challenge, which is in the US, we have a partner selected. We're going through the due diligence process with them. And I think this is the first of its kind, but we're able to support the community with no KYC, no custody. The only thing we would need to do is secure your account like we do today, so that if somebody else gets in, they can't use your card. That's it. And so I think that's the first, right? I don't think there are other platforms live that have a credit or debit card with no KYC, no custody, and you pay with your crypto wallet to fund the card instantly. So we're pretty excited about that. There's still some work to do going through the due diligence and the KYB process and getting regulatory approval from the bank and everything. But that is looking really promising. All of the partners we found that support various currencies globally, they require KYC and they take custody of your funds. So
It's no
We're
good.
going to have to look to the community and say, do you want the solution to have a small cost for foreign exchange, or do you want to give away your money and control of your money to a bank partner of ours? I think I know what your answer would be, Joel.
Yeah, and the thing is, and it's not just it's also a competitive kind of a thing, because there are companies like, as far as I remember, Uphold, that do have like a debit card that you can put crypto in your custodial KYC account and then just swipe it. And so that's what a lot of people use already. Some people watching this right now might even, but I think that the real thing is non-custodial and non-KYC, and you can spend it anywhere, is the kind of like killer app. So I think that's what people are going to be trying to go for. But
Yeah.
And let me get to this one, right? So, because like each one of these jumps to like a different one, but let's try to go a little more like sequentially to get through all these sorts of things. About stats, right? People have been curious about, because we have a minimum use statistic, which is all those random videos on Twitter of that, especially that one guy just buying lunch over and over and stuff. Like that's at least as much as it's been used. But like any other, and obviously this is a lot of is proprietary information, but what can you share with us about how things have been going as far as numbers, like how many people use it, whatever, how many locations, and all that wrapped into how far are we towards paying off the discount debt before we can make those discounts go to the proverbial 9,000.
The proverbial 9,000. So yeah, we're working towards like a full reporting dashboard that's automated and tied into our systems. Right now, I'm just pulling reports myself out of SQL. So it's more like anecdotal data today, because we just had the end of the first full month and we're still building some of those dashboards. But what I will say is that utilization per user has been higher than our fiat apps quite substantially. And I don't know whether that'll be sustained, right? I don't know if that's, here's my thinking on it. Within the fiat world, there are lots of easy ways to spend your money. And you have a habit of pull out your debit card or credit card or cash, right? Those are kind of the tried and true ways people have used it for 30, 35 years. So we're competing with a lot of solutions, right? And we're competing with a habit. If you are somebody who holds value in a cryptocurrency, in particular Dash or others that you can convert to Dash, I think this presents the easiest way to spend your money in the US. And so we think that gives us an edge over even not direct, indirect competitors, such as cashing it out through an exchange and then using
of course.
So we do see higher utilization per user. If you just take the total number of users who have made a purchase, the average amount per month is like double what we have in the fiat apps. So pretty significant bump there. I'll get some better, statistics around this by the end of this month and kind of have a better feel for kind of the trends as well. We did see obviously a huge drop in crypto prices. And I'm happy to say that people are still using the app. Like if it's currency and you need to buy something, then you're going to use it, right? The exchange rate is kind of a secondary thought.
Yeah, I'll interject my own personal experience into that, where Dash's been the one somethings and went over 200, and then started going to the high 200s, and then after the first stage of the dump, it was like 215 or something. And I'm like, I gotta buy stuff, and so I bought stuff there, and just because I needed stuff, and I need to get some coffee because my espresso machine is running dry. I need that's just like lifeblood. You can't do anything about that. And also, to add the statistical thing, everyone I know who's used this seems to be like super repeat customers. I know, obviously there's, our friend out in the West Coast who's, buying up a storm on Twitter, or just like every day is like using it and posting about it. And then there's another friend of mine who actually runs a business which involves a lot of trips to Lowe's. And there's just a lot, like just repeat. And part of feeding into that earlier question, feeding into that earlier question thing was, I've used DashDirect exactly twice so far, which is like the most, like, I'm the worst shill in the world for being like honest about these things. But it was like the one was the Uber in Miami, because that was when I got the APK file. I was testing it out ahead of time, and we needed an Uber, so it worked. And the other was to make a video. And most of these, and part of it's because I live in a place where I can literally go to a place and buy my coffee and croissant or whatever else, or my juice or my meal directly in Dash. And so I do that. But also the most common services that I've used, I would say ghetto Dash Direct is BitRefill. Sorry, BitRefill, by the way. Anyway, is Walmart and Amazon. Those are like the two big things, because for Amazon, obviously buy anything online. Like, I'm actually getting a GoPro, which I hear arrived today, so I can attach to just go in, film myself using Dash Direct and merchants around me, which there's already a bounty out. And I'll talk about the bounty towards the end of this thing. But just for myself, that's one of the things I got. And then also Walmart, of course, you get anything at Walmart, like, toilet paper or whatever else. You just go in. It's easy to put in the Walmart Pay app. And that's also how I gas up my car, because they have a pump out there, and I get 1% off to get the gift card. But then they give you 3 cents on a gallon off. Walmart does if you do it through their app and avoid the thing. So that's like, as soon as I leave the state for any period of time, like go on a trip, all of a sudden I'm going to start using a lot more. And as soon as like those two services are available, I would personally use a lot more. But I'm just saying, the not me people are, I can understand, like, just getting a habit. And, basically, so I'm kind of like alluding to the truth of kind of what you were saying about this. The stats do not surprise me.
Yeah. Well, and you do live in a state where crypto is much more supported, but you also have done the work to find out where it's supported and then to build a relationship with those business owners, right?
And
so
other people have as well.
Yeah, our intent isn't for you to say, I'm going to stop going to this local restaurant so that I can go to one of the chain restaurants that's on Dash Direct today. Our intent is, if you want to go to one of those, you should be able to use crypto. It should be private, and you shouldn't be subject to economic censorship. That's the whole thing, right? And if we can give you a reward on top of that, which we do in the vast majority of our merchants, then great. We'll make that more economically rewarding as well. But the bridge between the fiat that you hold in your wallet and the merchants who don't take it is by and large unbuilt, right? We're building that bridge. BitRefill, is building that bridge. BitPay and Uphold are building that bridge. We're all building it a little bit differently, but I think we're working towards that same goal of bridging those financial systems between fiat and non-fiat worlds.
And I have to say, I've been shilling BitRefill for at least 2 years on this podcast, and I've got a number of people to use it. No one's ever caught that, like, gotta keep using it fire that Dash Direct seems to. Like, no, like, every once in a while I get like, oh yeah, I got this, I spent Dash through BitRefill, but like, people are excited about Dash Direct. And I should say I will be using it a lot more soon, because I have to get a bunch of new clothes. A bunch of my clothes are just really old, and there's a bunch of outlets not too far from here that are all big boxy and do not take crypto directly. And so in the past, I've had to go through like the BitRefill workaround and stuff, and it's just been annoying. But now, basically looking forward to a bunch of good stuff. Let me just read off this thing. One Time, thank you, One Time. He's a constant viewer of the podcast, and last Dash podcast, Cointree was like experiencing issues, and so I'm glad to actually put his message up on the screen there. He says, "Hi, Joel and Marshall. Food just tastes better when it's paid for with Dash." One Time. I agree. Thank you.
I love it. I have had very few meals that weren't paid for with Dash since we started testing this, and nobody's monitoring to make sure I'm using it, right? I mean, my board would be happy whether I use it or not, and whether I use CrayPay or Dash Direct, they don't really care. Or if I don't use it either. But for me, it just makes more sense. First of all, it's super fast, it's easy. And secondly, I'm starting to transition. I am not I am not you yet. I'm not there yet, but I am starting to transition more of my assets into crypto. I would love to get to the point where it could be a higher percent than it is today, but it's growing. And, I did want to address this because, personally, I've spent a lot through DashDirect and saved a lot through DashDirect. And people have asked me like, well, why are you doing that when the price is falling? And I'm like, look, I just buy more Dash. Like why,
Yeah.
if I'm buying it low and I'm using it low, then it doesn't have that impact to me. But overall, since the launch of DashDirect, the value of Dash is up quite substantially, even today. So I've had net gains anyway. But regardless, I make it a habit just to continually buy Dash after every paycheck, and then I use Dash for my regular spending. The only things I don't use it for today are like utilities and rent and my car payment. So
Yeah, which I will absolutely say is the most annoying, difficult part about crypto. Like all my years of doing this, it's the utility bill has been the most annoying part, the hardest, the most inconsistent, bit. And so, yeah, I get it. I'm not going to have expect everyone to kind of do that. We got another question thing, and there's just, between that and we just have a bunch of stuff to go through, but this is obviously a good one. What are we doing to attract non-Dash crypto holders or make it easy for them to swap their coins for Dash and use the app? So let me answer on my part of this as well. First off, I just think we have to shame crypto holders. We're not shamed necessarily. Some of them need to be shamed, but to impress upon them that they need to be spending this stuff. They talk about financial freedom, all this kind of stuff, but then they just swipe with their bank. Like they need to move over to this stuff. And if you say 155,000 plus merchants in the US, you save a bunch of money, do it, no brainer. And I'm going to get a referral code for them eventually, but I like SwapSpace because it's like a little swap thing that finds the best rates. You just go to SwapSpace. I want to put 0.05 Bitcoin for Dash, and then you can just switch it over. And it's really fast and easy. No KYC, no account, no nothing. So that's what I would say. Swapspace.co is just super easy. And so I'll be telling people about this, but that's just off of the top of my head. What does the expert think?
Oh, I don't know that I claim to be an expert on that. I am still actually SwapSpace is new to me. I hadn't heard of that before, so I'm going to check that out after
Definitely.
the call.
And I should interject as well. There are some ones that allow you to do Lightning Network swap for Dash and back and forth, which is kind of interesting.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to have to research a little. What I'd love to do is find the right partners to integrate into the app to solve two problems, which is, as addressed by that most recent question, if somebody has another crypto asset, make it really simple for them to exchange it into Dash so that they can use DashDirect. And then secondly, if they don't have any crypto assets, they just have fiat assets, then give them a really simple way to get into crypto to begin with. Again, it's going to be more challenging for us because we've embraced what we believe are innate human rights to privacy. And so, there are a lot of solutions. We could go integrate with Coinbase's API today. We just have to throw a KYC wall right up at the front.
Of course.
You give away all of your information, and then we'll give you the tools. But that's not good enough. So we're working on some other solutions. There are some other Dash community members, such as Ash Francis at CTX, who's working on an on-ramp. Sorry if that wasn't public knowledge, but whatever it is now. There are others.
He's been talking about that stuff, and I like to call Ash Francis Atlas because he's holding up so much of the Dash ecosystem on his small brittle shoulders. Sorry, Ash, I'm not picking on you too much, but whatever.
I love Ash, by the way. He's and both he and Alex have been incredibly responsive for us anytime that we had a question or needed some help. And Dash Core Group has as well. There are people may not know this, but Dash Core Group and CTX built features and made changes to their own platforms specifically to support DashDirect. And I wouldn't say they dropped everything else, but really focused in to get it done in time to help us with it. So, cheers to both of them. Yeah. Those groups have been phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely making it work. the fiat thing is going to be, I think I have an actual question on this about how do we get around the first big issue to get them to acquire Dash in the first place. So what you're looking at here is that, so the flow, the way it works now is I have Dash in my Dash wallet because I do. And then I get the DashDirect app and then I can pay. Now for people who don't have, if they don't have that specific crypto, if they have a different one, first off, they should probably download the official Dash wallet, but if not, whatever. I'm sure, like, for example, one of the ones I tend to use is Coinomi from, less so now because they don't support the invoice type, so I can't really pay them at local merchants around here, but Edge is great. I love Edge. I love Paul, and their team are just a fantastic group of people, crypto OGs who know what's up. And you can swap inside the app as far as I know. So one thing you could just say is like, hey, you got, Dogecoin in your Edge app, swap it over for Dash, and then use that because Edge can pay DashDirect allegedly. I mean, I haven't tried it myself because I rarely use multi-coin wallets, but yeah, that's pretty easy. As far as other things, have you thought about like what the process is for swapping things over? So would you just say, oh, let's get Dash Core Group to get a in-app swap feature to convert into that wallet? Are you going to do it in DashDirect? Or are you going to do it not in the app, but like DashDirect.org will have a little swap feature on there? Like, have you thought about what form that'll take?
Yeah. First of all, I'd love an intro to the guys at Edge Wallet if you can make that intro.
Absolutely, yeah.
That'd be cool. Secondly, you're bringing up an interesting point. This is, call it 40 days after launch or something.
Yeah.
And we don't know for sure whether it makes the most sense to integrate features directly into DashDirect or into the Dash Core wallet or to even integrate with other services. What does seem to be the case is that DashDirect seems to be a little more, it's a little easier for somebody who's not a crypto enthusiast to receive the message about it and to kind of understand the value add, right? It's like, again, I said earlier, if you weren't already sold on crypto, then, maybe getting an average of 5% cash back on your purchases is enough to kind of help get you over the line. It may or may not be. In CrayPay, 3 to 4% incentive is enough to get people to use the app. So I believe that 5% average savings, 5.5% average savings in DashDirect will be enough to get people interested in checking it out. So if we can make it really simple, I think it does seem to point towards building the tools into one app so that people don't have to jump through multiple registration processes, multiple downloads to try to, navigate the process, right? What I envision is long-term, the app has everything you need, including your, ability to, manage your Dash through multiple wallets like Edge and others as well. So make it really simple with a lot of options. Right now the enemy is really just it's this push and pull with KYC, right? There's so many providers who've reached out to us since the launch of DashDirect and said, hey, we want to work with you. And there are some that already have like a KYC experience where their existing users sit, and we could potentially push some of their users into a Dash to become a Dash user. But there's definitely going to be, some pushback from those who don't want to go through the KYC process. So we're just trying to balance all of these things, and there's probably there's probably another 30 or 60 days worth of just talking to people and figuring out like what are the viable paths, who are the players that could provide us something. I had a really exciting introduction on Monday on the holiday here to a CEO of another company that's doing phenomenal things. And I think they have some viable solutions, but I think they're currently sold on it being all KYC'd. And so I'm trying to change their mind a little bit about how to think about this and to introduce KYC when it's necessary. So yeah, I'm not sure if that was a direct answer, but there you go.
Yeah. So as far as basically the value proposition of DashDirect, other than just saving money and all those other good stuff, is spending your crypto. If you don't have crypto, it's a different proposition. And so, for example, someone who has crypto, just swap it over to Dash. You can spend it. Great. If it's people who don't have any crypto,
Right.
it's more, they have to get crypto somehow, and if they want to get in significant amounts, they're going to either find their own privacy conscious little routes, like people mostly I know do, or they're going to go get KYC on an exchange and buy crypto. And so the
Right.
KYC element is not a problem. It's just a friction point for the initial
Yeah.
purchase to try it out. It's like
Yeah.
if I want to go, like, why don't you go get some Dash and spend it so you can see how crypto works in the real world? And it's just like, oh, and then they have to do the ID. I'm like, nah, they're just not going to do it. But if they can go in with minimal information, buy like $50, go spend it, get a Chipotle and save on it and be like, well, this is cool. I spent
Yeah.
digital cash. And then like when they want to make this a lifestyle choice, then they do KYC once,
Yeah.
get a big, not a big pot, but like, a couple grand in crypto and then just spend that and just up it once in a while.
Yep.
And then now they're living off of crypto kind of. And that is a much less of a daunting task once they've already kind of gotten hooked.
Yeah. No, and yeah, let me be clear that I don't think that there is a solution to buying as much crypto as you want and not going through a KYC process. I guess my my challenge is that everyone that seems to have a KYC process in place seems to just say it's a B thing. Either you come into our system or you don't. If you come into our
Mm-hmm.
system, you got to scan your passport, your driver's license, give us your date of birth, your social, your home address, your phone number, your email, and that's a lot, right? That's more than you would do for almost any other kind of finance. You could probably open a bank account, with similar friction, but it's an easier process to understand
Yeah, of
because
course.
the system's been around for a long time. So if you can buy $150 worth of Dash with no KYC, which I believe falls within all of the guidelines and regulations in the United States, at least, and then go out and use it and go, hey, that was really cool. And I
Mm-hmm.
saved money and it was easy. And now you go do it again. And let's say you go, okay, I'm going to buy, I don't know, $1,000, $500, whatever. Okay, so maybe, yeah, maybe, and I haven't fully fleshed out the exact triggers, but let's say that triggers another KYC element. So maybe we need some more information or need some information on who you are at this point. But maybe when you go to, like you said, go all in and put a couple $1,000s in, that's when we can introduce a full KYC experience. But there's no reason to introduce it up front when somebody hasn't even tried it. And I think it's a huge deterrent to crypto as a whole. I'll be honest, I started looking at NFTs. Just one of my son's friends came over, he made $5,000 on an NFT that day. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, let me download the app, let me check it out. So I started playing around with it and I bailed. Like I just went, I don't understand what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And that says something because I mean, he went through it. So obviously people can figure it out, but I guess I didn't have the uh, determination to go figure out that system at that
Yeah, it's
time.
the same thing. And the NFT level of things is kind of what's turning me into a little bit of a crypto boomer because I understand on a few conceptual levels. I've done some research, but as far as like these people that are all super into NFTs, as the story I'm so fond of telling is my little cousin who last time I saw him, he didn't know how to speak yet. Like he was a little taller, is now trying to airdrop me his NFTs. And it's just like, where did,
Amazing.
you know, that ages me more than these little grays on this side right here. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let me just crack through a couple of these things. We were talking about the discount thing. That's just a real quick thing of how close are we to paying off the debt as far as, obviously a percentage is very welcome, but if that's a little too granular, just like, less than half or like just starting at it or like, well, mostly there, or like however.
Um, it's in three stages, and
Mm-hmm.
so the good news is there will be a bump in the discounts when we hit the first of the three stages. You don't have to wait until
Yeah.
the very end.
Okay.
It's kind of a complex analysis to
Mm-hmm.
give, and so just frankly I haven't done it. I just
Mm-hmm.
have had too many things going on with the bank regulations paperwork
Of
for
course.
us to go through this. So I just haven't done it, but I can say based on the volume, it's not going to be there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But we're making good progress. We did more volume in the first month than I expected, so I
Well, that's
think
good.
we're moving quickly towards that number, and I think we'll get there sooner than later.
Well, that's a great thing to hear, of course, about more than expected because I think that I don't know, the Dash community has gone through different stages of energy, and mostly it's a lot of people that are just going about their daily lives, and
Sure.
they're not as obsessive these
Hmm.
days as a lot of people. And there are a bunch of really hardcore people, but I basically that's very encouraging. Let me hit
Yeah.
on this thing because, and I know I want to be respectful of your time. You got what, like 14 minutes, and then you got to like absolutely bail. But just on the Visa solution thing. So let me just give my preference from my personal experience in the crypto world. One of the first things I did when I became when I started living off of crypto completely, before I became unbanked, but well, somewhere around that time or I got a prepaid Visa card that was like backed by crypto. I think it was YRX was the first one, and
Hmm.
so basically I had some Bitcoin in my YRX account, and then I would just turn it over into prepaid balance, and then I'd spend it. And they didn't accept it. Anyway, basically it was a certain limit. I think it was something like 5,000 USD, and then they wanted you to KYC or something.
Hmm.
And so I went through a few cards like that where I just used it until I couldn't, and then just got a new one from a different provider or
Hmm.
something. And I was also testing out the market. It wasn't just like,
Yeah.
I used a few different ones. What was the other one? ShakePay, which is now a Canadian Bitcoin exchange type thing. Used to
Mm.
do a Dash debit card. It was one of those ones that, and so I just remember it's like 5,000, and then it was like 2,500, and then it was like 1,000, which is practically like a one use type thing. Not really, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then eventually, those prepaid options seemed to have dried up. Part of it was I could actually spend Dash in a more direct way in a lot of places,
Yeah.
which is great. But also, I feel like that was like collapsed. The walls are closing in. And then now to hear this, and I have this has been posted in Discord before, and I sent it to you privately as well. It seems like there's some other crypto services saying stuff that's eerily similar to,
Hmm.
obviously with a longer roadmap, it's not there, and obviously they're not as, excellent at making all this thing work out seamlessly as you. At least I don't know yet, but basically it seems like, oh, we can provision cards, including you were mentioning something about, I believe, like a physical card and stuff. We can just provision these things and just have certain limits with no KYC, and it's all fine. And that seems like it seems like not only has it gone back, not only have the walls opened up, but they've gotten wider than they were when I started doing this kind of stuff in like 2016. So basically, it sounds from me a little too good to be true. What's the deal with this? Has anything changed in a regulatory way? Is like, what's the missing part of my brain that I'm not getting in
Yeah.
this?
I don't think anything's missing in your brain.
Yeah.
Our laws in the United States are arbitrarily complex. There haven't been any
Just in the
changes.
United States? I mean,
Well,
okay.
probably everywhere. I'm only familiar
Yeah.
with the payment laws in the United States, but um, the laws haven't changed to our knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
We're being creative
Mm-hmm.
about how we put the program together. So
Okay.
we are not actually issuing Joel a card. In fact, we don't need to know that you are Joel.
Okay.
What we're doing is more similar to going to a grocery store and buying a Visa prepaid card
Mm-hmm.
that has a variable amount. So think about that. They don't know how much anyone is going to come through and buy, or if and when somebody is going to.
Of
So you come
course.
through and you say, I want to do this one for $100. I'm going to use it for whatever. So you do $100, and then they activate that card right then. They
Mm-hmm.
did not activate that with your money. And this is a big distinction because they didn't have your money.
Mm-hmm.
You've paid them with a credit card or cash, and so they're going to recognize your money as a sale
Yeah.
of a gift card or a prepaid card, and they're using their money to activate the Visa card. Okay, and so in that model, it's what you call corporate sponsored or partner
Mm-hmm.
funded. Um, the retailer is actually using their funds to issue the card. They're responsible for making sure that they comply with the law as far as limiting how much you can use and how much you can activate and how many times you can do that in a day. So very similar to the gift card laws there. But I want to be clear, this is not actually a prepaid card. You're not actually prepaying anything, right? We see on the blockchain this transactions coming in, and we issue you funds onto your card, our funds onto our card. So we're effectively letting you use our card to go make purchases for the amount that we see coming in on the blockchain.
And so because it's not my card, it's a loaner from the company, really. That makes it so that rather than I have to be KYC because I have access to the card, rather you only have to KYC me if it's a significant amount, kind of.
Close. So it's what you call partner funded or corporate sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
So think about a corporation who wanted to go out and sell these tools. It doesn't make sense for them to have to go through KYC. Nobody would ever buy a Visa gift card and sit and fill out an application at the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
So the law has carved out these exemptions. Within FinCEN, it's called the prepaid access rule.
Mm-hmm.
And I can send you a link to it. But effectively, you have certain things you have to limit. Outside of the prepaid, there are similar regulations, similar laws, and the limitation is $1,000 a day.
Mm-hmm.
So either $1,000 in total load value at a time. So you couldn't load 500, and then $1. It will decline, right? We won't allow it. And if you try to load, $1 more than your $1,000, even if it was over the course of a long period of time, the system will decline it. Mm-hmm. So we actually won't introduce a KYC. We've made the decision just not to do that in this particular product.
Yeah. So you keep you fence people out of KYC territory.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
We do believe $1,000 a day is plenty for your everyday shopping. Obviously, it's not going to pay for some types of categories of expenses, but it allows us to operate within the law and provide a totally non-custodial, no KYC solution.
So basically, you could have done this in 2016, just that you guys weren't in the business yet, or no one had figured that out.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's hit on it yet. You sent me a link to a company who's talking about it.
Or what seems to be it. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be. Yeah, it's hard to say. There's not a lot of information there.
Mm-hmm.
They may be doing something similar. I haven't seen anyone do it yet, but these types of programs do exist. And as I pointed out, we've all probably used it when you buy somebody an Amex gift card at a grocery store before. And I do want to be clear. We've said Visa quite a few times. The initial partner that we've selected, I signed the contract this week, and it will be a MasterCard.
Okay.
And while we're still going through the due diligence process, we're hopeful that we'll get through that and get to the finish line, and they believe that that'll be the case as well.
Yeah, I mean, sounds good. Okay, as I said, sounds almost too good to be true. But if this has been, it makes you feel better that this has been there the whole time and it's not just a little thing. Hopefully, there isn't any regulatory nonsense that gets around that. But I can hardly wait to be able to tell people, and I'm already, because I'm running this marketing hub thingy. Mm-hmm. Already, my brain is going through a million ways of ads for getting people to use this stuff. Because if you just tell someone, look, you move a big chunk of your money or all your money into Dash or something like that. Again, not non-investment advice, not do whatever, but you can just live without, for the most part, without KYC. Yeah. You can just, without using government money, right? Or, in between for little bits, but basically you get to just unplug completely. There's a significant portion of, contact groups that I have that would just not even believe that this is possible, but would jump on it right away. And so maybe people who are not sold on crypto yet are kind of well, yeah, I hear it's good, but so basically, yeah, Godspeed with that. But let me just hit this last one real quick because we're, 5 minutes away. The SWOT analysis, right? What do you see the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for DashDirect? Opportunities and threats especially. And I'm personally more interested in the threat part of it because we're just talking about this gushing awesomeness. And, fire away.
Yeah. Strengths, I think, are primarily on the UX side, the incentive side. We do have a strong merchant network, as well as strong tech to make it easy to find locations close to you, easy to use, clear to understand the instructions. I think on the weaknesses side, anytime you're trying to change consumer behavior, there's friction. right? It's just something unfamiliar to somebody. So it seems to be like if they walk through one or two transactions on the app, then it's like, okay, I'm understanding what I'm doing now. So I think there's opportunities to make that even simpler and clearer for newcomers, and especially the whole how do I get Dash and get it into my wallet process, as we've talked about a couple of times, like making that really simple and clear is a huge opportunity for us to improve it. On the threat side, I think there's always a risk of some sort of like legal or regulatory, shenanigans or something, but I don't think there's a lot of threat of that. I don't think that the risk is high. I think the bigger threat is going to be that we don't move fast enough to streamline the entire process. And so the excitement around it could fizzle, and then the people who haven't adopted it don't really go through the process to learn how to do it. I think we've got a lot of momentum right now. I think we should really grab onto that momentum and continue to add features. The MasterCard issuance, the on-ramping, simplifying the experience for somebody who's new to crypto. I think those things, if we can really, grasp onto those opportunities and move with them, I think that we can get ahead of the market and keep, bringing in new people on a daily basis. I think that the threat would really lead to us being like those of us who are already Dash fans are going to keep using it, and then people that aren't part of that base might have a difficult time either understanding the value proposition or making the transition.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and we have to move fast on that. So speaking of moving fast, and we're at like the last 2 minutes of this thing, lightning round stuff. Go to the Dash Discord. StayDashy.com is how you get in there. There is a channel called Dash Marketing Hub. Go in there. I'm running a project that basically it's kind of like an incubator style thing where anyone can propose an idea, or anyone can just propose to get started in, doing like grassroots marketing, but it's paid, you get money for it. It's all super radically transparent. You see every work we're doing, everything we're doing. The biggest thing, if you're in the US, there's this very specific call to action. Two things. One, if you're in the US and you want to make a video of yourself using this stuff, you can get paid for that. We need a lot of help with that. There's already like at least 10 states are under being worked on right now. We want to do every 50 state, and hopefully DC and Puerto Rico as well. Get a video of it being used in all of those. So hit me up for that. And the other thing is, you guys are clearly watch shows, right? Because you're watching this one. And if you're not, of course, that's you got to be watching this one. Other crypto shows, other, whatever else, podcast, anything that you want to see, I'm available anytime to be on these things. Marshall has agreed to be on some of these things. If we can get it, just say, hey, like, reach out to your favorite podcast, whatever. Say, hey, we want to have this guy on. We got to, can we have these guys on? Get us out everywhere you can. And there's money behind that too. If you hook up an interview thing, you get some money behind that. So what can I say? It's all awesome. Then again, this is a great way to earn Dash without going through buying it, through the KYC process and all that. Like, if you just hook up a few people with interviews, then all of a sudden you got a little thing that now you can go spend in the real world through DashDirect, and then there you go. So anything else to add?
No, thank you so much for putting together the Marketing Hub and the specific programs behind DashDirect. Really appreciate it. Seen some really cool video content already being created. It's really exciting. I've got a lot of people going like, hey, show me how to do this, because that's cool. I want to earn Dash. So I love it. Thank you for running together. And
send them all my way. That's all I could say. All right. I heard a little thing go off. I'll let you get out of here. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, I'll see you guys next week or in 2 weeks for the next Dash podcast, where Ryan Taylor will be on. All right. Awesome. See you guys around.